Hi guys, this is Connie, back for some more Connie Reads the Dogs of Winter. This is chapter 41, titled Home. And then, as suddenly as it had come, winter was gone. The great rafts of ice in the river broke up and floated away. The children emerged from the underworld, blinking and pale in the spring sun. The banks of snow piled in the alleyways and against buildings, tall as any man, melted and revealed those who had not been so lucky to survive one of the worst winters in the last 20 years. Leaves unfolded and hands unfolded. Perhaps it was everyone's relief at having survived. Perhaps it was the return of true sunshine. But the people of the city were generous. For a time, anyway. The passerby dropped coins and rubles in outstretched hands with a quick smile. The shopkeepers handed out day-old bread every morning. The militia once again patrolled the streets and the parks, leaving the metro stations to us. Even the gangs of black-clad, chain-wearing crow boys left the smaller children alone. The Bomsi were not so lucky. One day we found more Christian ladies than we'd ever seen at Komsomolskaya Ploshchad. Their tables and boxes filled the square. Lines and lines of ragged children snaked around and about the benches and statues. Some stood swaying on their feet, others hopped from one foot to the other. Little boys wrestled like moon and star when they were just silly puppies. Girls clung to one another or to older boys. Some of the small children cried, and others chased the army of pigeons. The dogs and I watched the street children and the Christian ladies from the top steps at the feet of a statue. A man carved of marble clutched the lapel of his coat, his other hand thrust in his marble pocket. He studied the crowd of homeless children with eyes that said, "How did it come to this?" A woman stopped at the bottom of the statue. "Come get something to eat," she said. "Is there food for them too?" I asked, motioning to the dogs. The woman shook her head. She waved to the never-ending line of children. "We barely have enough food to feed them. You think we would feed dogs too?" And then she stalked away. I hopped down off the perch at the feet of the marble man. A fight broke out between 3 boys over a piece of bread. 2 more boys jumped in just for the fun of the fight. The Christian lady shouted, "Stop this foolishness or none of you will get one bite to eat." "Come," I said to the dogs. We trotted across the wide plaza, away from the marble man with his stern, cold face, and away from the crying, fighting children. We rode the escalator down and down and down into the Yaroslav station. I'm so sorry for butchering all of these words. As always, we slipped into the last train car. The dogs sprawled on the floor of the rocking car with a sigh. All their ribs showed through their dull coats. Lucky had received a wound that refused to heal from a fight with another street dog. I had a cough that rattled deep in my chest and kept me awake at night. I leaned my head against the sun-warmed window. It was time to go home. We would return to the woods. The dogs would once again become fat. I would grow brown in the sun that stretched into the late evening hours. We would race through the woods and the meadows with soft grass and leaves beneath our feet instead of concrete. We would fly as if we all had wings. We rode and rode the train until we came to the park with the Ferris wheel on the edge of the great wood. We waited until dark. After the few people who were there trailed away, we made our way into the park. We said hello to the Ferris wheel, the wooden stalls selling beer and shashlik, and the stage where the bands played. The ducks floated on the pond. Rip and I found a nest of eggs and ate them. Smoke snapped a fat duck's neck and carried it off into the woods to share it with little mother. This year, I did not need to drag a chair over to the garbage bin to climb in. All I had to do was stand on my toes and reach up. I filled plastic bags with food. We set off for our home beneath the tree. Would I remember how to get there? It did not matter. Once we crossed the boulevard to the edge of the great forest, my feet remembered the way. We ran and ran along the trails we knew so well. Patches of snow still pooled beneath some of the trees. Finally, we burst free of the forest into our meadow. Here the grass was green and dotted with yellow flowers. The creek overran its banks and sprawled this way and that, and there, on the far side of the meadow, stood our tree. Moon and Star galloped happily over to our den and wiggled beneath the branches. "Let's go home," I said to the dogs. It was still quite wet in the well beneath the tree, too wet for us to live in for now, anyway. I crawled out and sighed. Smoke watched me as I thought what to do. Rip and Lucky rolled with joy in the grass and mud. I crawled up and onto the big, flat rocks where I'd watched the stars last summer, the place where we howled together at the moon. Little Mother climbed up beside me and laid her head on my leg. "We need to make another home until our den dries out," I said, stroking her head. "We could go to Garbage Mountain and get things to make a home," Little Mother sneezed. "I know. I don't want to go back there either. There are bad people there." Star barked from the boulders at the top of the gentle rise above the meadow. He sat at the foot of the tree stump, the stump on top of which the giant deer skull still rested, shining white in the moonlight. Smoke and I trotted up to the rise of the boulders and the skull. Up here, the ground was dry. Next to the boulders, it was warm. I scraped together a bed of dry leaves. "We will sleep here tonight. Tomorrow, I will find a way to make us a shelter until our den is dry." We all piled up together on the bed of leaves. I picked burrs and twigs from Rip's fur, while Lucky scrubbed my face with his tongue. The wind shifted and sighed around us. Clouds sailed over the moon and beyond. And that's the end of chapter 41. Be careful with that and enjoy, please and thank you, and I will see you for the next installment. Have a great one.